Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to week 3 of building our Thompson Center reboot of the 19th century era Hawken style muzzleloader rifle. Alright, last week was all about rough sanding the stock. We spent about 5 hours sanding it with 150 grit sandpaper, and we've definitely got a little bit more to go before progressing to finer grits. We also spent some time locating and attaching some of the hardware, including the lock plate assembly, the trigger lock, and the tang and barrel assembly. Now this week is all about draw filing, which is a technique used to polish metal parts. And in the spirit of the project, we're going to do it all by hand. Now there's several pieces of hardware we're going to have to polish for this project. And the instructions recommend starting with the barrel first. It's the biggest, it's going to take the longest, but it's supposed to be the easiest. So hopefully we'll learn a thing or two before moving on to the more difficult, albeit smaller pieces of hardware. Now, how long do I expect it to take to finish this barrel? Well, the instructions clearly state that it should take a professional about 4 hours. So we should expect it to take about 8. So we better get to work. All right, I got everything that the instructions say we need to get started. Of course, I got our barrel. We got a little bastard file, emery cloth, and crocus cloth. I don't know what crocus cloth is. I've never heard of it before. I don't know if it's crocus or crocus. And I'm like, all right, well, I don't know what that is, so I'm gonna have, they probably don't even make that anymore, so I'm gonna have to figure something else out when it comes time to do whatever the hell that crocus cloth is supposed to do. But sure enough, man, when I go into the maintenance closet here to get the emery cloth, what do I see? So what a little treat that is, right? All right, I've also got a file cleaner brush right here we can use to clean out metal filings that might get lodged in the serrations of our file here. And if it gets real bad, we can also try rubbing chalk on it. That should help keep the metal filings from sticking in the serrations as well. All right, the instructions say it should take about 8 hours to do this. Now there's 8 sides on this barrel. It's an octagonal barrel. So according to my calculations, they're thinking it should take us about an hour to finish each side of this barrel. All right, they recommend working on small, like 4-inch sections at a time, instead of trying to scrape the whole length of the barrel. That's just asking for trouble. So we're gonna work on small sections, but I think before I do a whole length with this, I'm gonna try and do one 4-inch section with the file and the emery cloth and the crocus cloth too, just to make sure that I'm working right. Just like what we ran into with the sandpaper, I'd hate for this file to maybe be too coarse of a grit, so to speak, and end up having the emery cloth not be abrasive enough to clean those marks up. So I think I'm going to go through all 3 stages just in one little spot first to make sure that we got everything we need. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to start working on the bottom of the barrel. I'd rather, if I'm going to make a mistake, I'd rather do it on the bottom where it's likely to be out of sight compared to the sides or top of it. Now, when I go to do this, I was thinking I would hold it far out, way on the ends here. So then it'll make it obvious, I'll have better control if I'm gonna tip or not. Because you don't wanna be going off on the side and hitting these corners. The instructions say to hold it close like this, so I guess I'll do what the instructions say. I'm not feeling like a flat here. It kind of feels like it's rocking the whole time. So I don't know if the file's flat. The barrel looks pretty flat to me, so we'll see. All right, something that I'm not really liking is I can see where I'm filing, and I don't know if you can see it here, but so there's this flat. It's maybe about 3/8 of an inch wide. As I'm filing, the first stroke that I make, the center of the flat is getting filed, and then as I'm continuing to work, it's getting wider. So either, to me, it seems like either the file is convex, and it's bowed, and it's not flat, or the flat isn't flat, and there's actually a little roundness to it that I'm working down, and so I don't know. So I'm gonna go get a straight edge and see if it looks like it's flat or not. Okay, it's definitely the barrel. The barrel is not flat. There's a little bit of a curvature to it. So I guess what that means is maybe that'll help. I can use that as a guide. So as I'm filing, I'm gonna wanna look for that flat to start in the center, and as it goes down, you know, it's gonna wanna stay, I'm gonna wanna look for the lines to widen evenly. You know, I'm not gonna want, as I go down, I'm not gonna want the freshly filed surface to hit the left side corner before the right side corner, because that would mean that I'm tilting this way. So I guess I can use that as a guide. So that's not the end of the world. Okay, so I got this one section down pretty good. I can already feel just with my fingers that even just with the file, it's a lot smoother than it was from the factory. So now I'm gonna take a strip of emery cloth and go at it with this. And the instructions say, I think it's a good idea, is to wrap this around your file too. Okay, I think that works pretty well. So now I'm gonna give our crocus cloth a try. Same thing. All right, so I'm gonna take this over to the microscope to look at the little section that we polished and see how it compares to the factory section. And I'll put the pictures up on screen so you can compare them. And they'll be at the same magnification, so we can hopefully see a noticeable difference. All right, well, hopefully you can see the difference on those two pictures, because to me they look pretty good. So now I'm not gonna do the emery cloth and crocus cloth for the rest of the length of the barrel. I'm just gonna do the file, then I'm gonna come back with the emery cloth and crocus cloth per the instructions. You know, before I was complaining about this ground flat not really being flat, kind of having a curve to it, but actually I think it's probably making it really easy, because you know, it starts out curved, so when my file hits it, I'm just hitting the peak, you know. So as I file down further, that flat that is going to be produced by the file, it's going to get wider and wider, and I can really use it to make sure that I'm staying on center. You know, if I'm coming in on the left corner a little faster than the one on the right, I know I can tilt the file a little bit. You know, it helps me just keep centered. And then as soon as the flat that's being produced by the file, which is really easy to see because it's so much smoother than the factory finish, you know, it's getting wider as I go down. And then as soon as it touches the corner of the hex, I know I'm home. And then maybe just like one or two more scrapes along the length of it, and I'm good to go. So I don't know if that's kind of what their intention is, but I'm actually starting to like it. All right, I was always taught that you're only supposed to go one way with the file, and maybe that's the case when you're using it just to deburr something or whatever, but the instructions clearly say to push and pull, so I'm going to give that a little shot and see how that feels. Okay, see that? See that mark right there? That's where the file is just starting to do its work. And let's see if I get up here. There, see? So you can see right there I started doing this work, and then as I keep working down, the flat will get wider and wider and wider until we're like here, and you can see it's flat across the whole width of that side of the octagon. So I just wanted to show you that. So you can see that one, I'm off a little bit on the right side. So I might tilt the file a little bit to the left to try and get it back in the center. Okay, it's kind of hard to see the difference, but your fingernails can really feel a lot. So if I go over here, I can feel it smooth. Right here, it gets a little rougher, so I can tell that, the emery cloth is doing its job. Wow, this Crocus paper is so fine. It doesn't even feel like, usually like when you're sanding something, you like, especially metal, you can feel like the grit of the sandpaper, even the emery cloth, like scratching and scraping its way through. But with this, it's so smooth. It feels different. Like I can feel resistance, but it doesn't feel like an abrasive. It feels like what I imagine. What do they call it? A stroping, I think. Those like leather belts that you use to sharpen like a straight blade razor. All right, I think we're done with that side. You can really see the difference between like this unfinished side and this flat here, which is the one that we did. See, there's a little spot right there. This edge isn't quite done yet. So I got to keep going down. I'm not going to rock it. Go straight till it's all flat. All right, here's the factory edge. And if we turn it around, we'll see if we can tell whether or not our hard work is paid off. Ooh, baby. Isn't that awesome? All right, the instructions said that a professional could do each side in about a half an hour, and a beginner would take more like an hour. We did each side in about 45 minutes. That puts us somewhere right in the middle, so I'm okay with that, and I'm really happy with the results. All right, well, working on this barrel tonight was a lot of fun. We got 2 flats done out of 8, so we got still looks like maybe 4 or 5 hours worth of work just on the barrel, and then we got all the little parts to work on. We still got to finish sanding the stock, so there's still a ton of fun ahead of us. All right, thanks for watching, guys. Have a good one.